It didn't start with a headline. It started with silence. The kind of silence that hits right after something goes wrong. Not publicly, not officially, but deeply, privately. Fans noticed it first. Posts stopped. Appearances vanished. A presence that was once everywhere suddenly felt missing. And when questions began circulating, no one answered them directly. Instead, fragments appeared. A shaky clip, a cryptic message, a late-night comment that disappeared within minutes. And then the word started spreading. Not confirmed, not denied, just whispered across timelines and group chats. Something involving the kids had changed. Not a rumor anyone wanted to repeat out loud, but one that refused to go away. People close to the situation described a shift. Not anger, not drama, something heavier. Panic masked as calm, strength forced into place. According to alleged insiders, the moment things became unclear behind the scenes, everything else unraveled at once. What followed wasn't a meltdown for the cameras. It was worse. It was a withdrawal. No explanations. No clarifications. Just a growing sense that whatever was happening wasn't meant to be seen. And at the center of it all, Teyana Taylor, facing a moment that, if the whispers are even partially true, could change everything she thought was untouchable. And this was only the beginning. What made this situation feel different wasn't the rumor itself. It was how carefully everyone avoided it. Teyana Taylor has spent years controlling her narrative in an industry that rarely gives women that luxury. Dancer, director, singer, fashion presence. Her image has always been precision-built, disciplined, grounded, fiercely protective of her private life. Especially when it came to her children. That part of her world was always treated as non-negotiable, off-limits, sacred, which is why the sudden shift felt so alarming. Long before social media started speculating, people close to the entertainment circuit noticed something was off. Scheduled appearances quietly rescheduled. Meetings handled by representatives instead of her directly. Conversations that once flowed freely suddenly became clipped, cautious, delayed. According to alleged insiders, it wasn't exhaustion. It wasn't burnout. It was a distraction, the kind that pulls someone out of a room even while they're physically present. Context matters here. Teyana's past has never been free of pressure. Public relationships, public scrutiny, constant commentary on her choices as a mother, a partner, a woman in power. Over time, she learned to move strategically. Keep the family shielded. Keep business public. Never blur the lines. And for a long time, that strategy worked. Until it didn't. The whispers began quietly, almost respectfully. Fans asking why she skipped moments that mattered. Why milestones passed without acknowledgement. Why her usually tight-knit online presence fractured into silence and vague captions. Then came the speculation, not accusations, not confirmations, just questions stacking up without answers. Was it legal pressure? Was it industry interference? Was it a private family dispute being handled behind closed doors? No one knew. And that uncertainty is what gave the situation its weight. According to people who claim proximity to the situation, the fear wasn't about a single incident. It was about a process. A slow-moving, invisible mechanism that once activated doesn't stop easily. Consultations. Conversations framed as guidance. Advice delivered carefully, verbally, never in writing. The kind of environment where every sentence feels rehearsed because saying the wrong thing could complicate everything. Teyana, by all public measures, kept moving. Work commitments continued. Appearances remained polished. But those watching closely noticed the cracks. Smiles held a fraction too long. Eyes scanned rooms instead of settling. And when children were mentioned, even casually, her tone shifted. Guarded. Measured. Final. That's when online discourse intensified. Blogs didn't publish stories, they posted questions. Reaction channels didn't allege facts, they replayed moments, slowed down clips, analyzed pauses. Comment sections filled with theories that never fully formed because no one wanted to be the first to say something that couldn't be taken back. What made it worse was the absence of denial. In situations like this, silence doesn't calm speculation, it feeds it. And the longer it stretched, the more people wondered if silence was a strategy rather than a gap. According to alleged industry observers, when children are involved, the standard playbook changes. Everything becomes slower, heavier, more controlled. This wasn't about scandal. It was about stakes. Fans began revisiting old interviews, looking for missed signs. Old quotes about protection, about motherhood being her anchor, about how certain lines should never be crossed. In hindsight, those words started sounding less like inspiration and more like boundaries drawn for a reason. Then came the new friends factor. Around the same period, her circle appeared to shift. New faces, new associations, people with reputations for discretion, not visibility. According to speculation, these weren't social additions, they were strategic ones. Individuals familiar with navigating pressure without leaving fingerprints. The kind of people you keep close when clarity is scarce and consequences feel permanent. Still, nothing was confirmed. And that's the point. This story never unfolded loudly. There were no explosive leaks. No court documents splashed across timelines. Just a slow, creeping realization that something deeply personal was being handled somewhere the public couldn't reach. And if the whispers are even partially accurate, the emotional toll wasn't theatrical. It was internal. The kind that forces someone to choose silence over explanation, control over comfort, and privacy over relief. By the time fans realized this wasn't just another internet moment, the tone had already changed. What once felt like curiosity started feeling invasive, and what once felt like distance began to resemble protection. Because when a mother goes quiet this carefully, people start asking why. And that question, unanswered, is what pushed the situation into something far more unsettling than gossip. It set the stage for everything that followed. The moment things crossed from concern into quiet alarm wasn't marked by a headline, it was marked by a meeting that never happened. According to alleged insiders, there was a scheduled appearance that had been locked in weeks in advance. Contracts signed, logistics finalized. Then, hours before confirmation, everything froze. Not canceled, not delayed, just paused. No explanation beyond private circumstances. That phrase started appearing more often than usual, and people in the industry know what that usually signals. Behind the scenes, something had shifted. Sources who claim familiarity with the situation describe an abrupt change in tone. Where conversations were once collaborative, they became procedural. Where flexibility existed, rigidity took over. The language wasn't emotional, it was careful, almost legal, almost rehearsed. As if every decision was being filtered through consequences that hadn't yet reached the public. That's when the first leak surfaced. Not a document, not a recording, just a message, allegedly shared in a private group, hinting that family arrangements were under review. No names, no details. But the implication was enough to ignite speculation. Screenshots circulated, cropped just enough to remove context. Comment sections exploded with questions no one could answer. What made this leak dangerous wasn't what it said, it was what it didn't say. People began connecting dots backward. Old moments resurfaced. Missed events. Abrupt exits. The protective distance Teyana had always maintained around her children suddenly looked less like preference and more like preparation. And once that idea took hold, the narrative shifted fast. According to alleged observers, the pressure didn't come from one direction. It came from everywhere at once. Legal consultations layered over emotional stress. Advisors urging restraint. Friends choosing silence out of loyalty or fear. The kind of environment where even well-meaning support feels conditional. Then came the first visible crack. During what was supposed to be a routine public moment, viewers noticed something off. Not tears. Not panic. A hesitation. A pause mid-sentence that lingered too long. A breath taken like someone steadying themselves before continuing. The clip spread quickly, dissected frame by frame. To some, it meant nothing. To others, it confirmed everything. And still, no clarification. That absence became the loudest signal of all. According to people who claim insight into the process, when children are involved, narratives don't get corrected quickly. they get contained. Statements are weighed not for accuracy, but for impact. Silence becomes safer than denial because denial invites follow-ups, and follow-ups invite exposure. Meanwhile, social media did what it always does. It filled the gaps. Fake timelines appeared. Alleged court whispers circulated. Accounts claiming to have insider confirmation popped up overnight, only to disappear days later. The volatility itself became suspicious, as if something was actively being monitored, adjusted, pulled back when it gained too much traction. That's when the new friends were noticed again. Not in photos, in absences. People who used to speak publicly went quiet. People who rarely appeared suddenly became present, but never on record. According to speculation, these weren't casual relationships. They were part of a containment circle. Individuals experienced in navigating moments where perception matters more than truth. And then came the twist no one expected. A second alleged leak suggested that the situation wasn't reactive, it was preemptive. That discussions had begun before fans noticed anything at all. That decisions were being weighed long before questions surfaced online. If true, that reframed everything. This wasn't damage control after a crisis. It was crisis management before the public even knew there was one. That possibility changed the tone overnight. Suddenly, the silence didn't feel passive. It felt strategic. And strategy implies stakes. High ones. According to alleged insiders, the emotional toll escalated rapidly once that realization set in. Isolation increased. Trust narrowed. Conversations that once felt safe became transactional. The weight of not knowing how much to say, or who to say it to, became unbearable. And through it all, Teyana remained composed, which paradoxically made people more uneasy. Because composure under pressure doesn't always mean strength. Sometimes it means survival. By the time this phase peaked, one thing was clear. Whatever was unfolding wasn't going to resolve cleanly. Too many variables. Too much silence. Too many people invested in keeping the story incomplete. And just when it seemed like the narrative couldn't grow heavier, another layer began to surface, one that threatened to shift the entire understanding of what was really at stake. And that's where everything took a darker turn. Behind the scenes, whispers started turning into warnings. Industry insiders claimed meetings were happening that Nicki was never invited to. Power dinners, closed-door conversations. Political strategists, media investors, and high-profile figures suddenly circling 50 Cent, not as an artist, but as a connector. Someone who could move narratives, shift audiences, and make chaos look like opportunity. And that's when Nicki allegedly realized something wasn't adding up. Sources say Nicki believed this was a partnership built on loyalty, legacy, and mutual benefit. But 50 Cent? He was reportedly playing a longer, colder game. The $100 million deal wasn't about politics, it was about positioning. About who controls the headlines, who gets protected, and who becomes expendable when the optics change. What shook Nicki's camp the most wasn't just silence, it was alignment. Media outlets that once defended her suddenly flipped tone. Blogs started framing her as unstable, unpredictable, even damaging to brands. Meanwhile, 50 Cent was being praised as strategic, evolving, and business-minded. The contrast was too sharp to be coincidence. Then came the alleged call. According to an anonymous insider, Nicki confronted 50 Cent directly, asking him point-blank if the deal involved distancing himself from her. The response? Cold, calculated, and vague. No denial, no reassurance, just business language, risk management, optics, timing. That's when the betrayal reportedly became undeniable. People close to Nicki say she felt used, not just professionally, but personally. She had stood beside 50 Cent during public backlash before, defended him when others distanced themselves. But now, when her image became too loud, too controversial, she was allegedly treated like a liability that needed to be managed or silenced. The internet noticed too. Fans started connecting dots. Old interviews resurfaced. Tweets were dissected. Clips replayed. Every subtle jab, every passive-aggressive comment suddenly looked intentional. The narrative online shifted fast. Was Nicki being pushed out to make the deal cleaner? Was her voice becoming inconvenient? And the most disturbing question of all began trending quietly in fan circles. Was Nicki being paid to flip, or was she being punished for refusing to? Because according to sources, Nicki was allegedly offered her own version of the deal. A softer role, controlled messaging, less fire, less freedom, more obedience. And when she didn't immediately accept, the pressure reportedly intensified. What looked like a betrayal was now starting to resemble a setup. And as tensions rose behind closed doors, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about power, control, and who gets to survive when hip-hop collides with politics. And the worst part? This story was far from over. As soon as the story started circulating, the public reaction was instant and explosive. Social media timelines were flooded with theories, breakdowns, and heated debates. Fans who once celebrated the alliance between Nicki Minaj and 50 Cent were now split down the middle. Some felt betrayed, others felt played, and a growing number started asking uncomfortable questions no one in the industry wanted to answer out loud. Nicki's fanbase moved first. They dug up old interviews where 50 Cent praised Nicki's loyalty and influence. Old tweets resurfaced where he positioned himself as someone who never switches sides. Side-by-side clips began trending, comparing those moments to his recent silence. To fans, the contrast felt intentional, like someone slowly erasing a connection that no longer benefited them. Meanwhile, hip-hop media stayed suspiciously careful. Major outlets avoided direct accusations. Instead, they used soft language, rumored tensions, alleged distance, business realignment. But smaller blogs and independent creators weren't as restrained. They openly questioned whether Nicki Minaj was being iced out to protect a larger agenda. Some even suggested she was being framed as unstable to justify the shift. Industry insiders, however, told a darker story. Producers and executives allegedly whispered that Nicki's outspokenness had become too unpredictable for corporate-backed partnerships. According to sources, her refusal to soften her tone or follow scripted messaging made her difficult to control, and control was everything in this deal. In contrast, 50 Cent was reportedly praised behind closed doors for being adaptable and strategic. That praise didn't sit well with everyone. Several artists subtly reacted without naming names. Cryptic Instagram captions, lyrics about fake loyalty and silent betrayal. Even a few veteran figures hinted that politics had officially crossed a line, where culture was now being reshaped by money, not voices. To many, Nicki's situation became a warning. Say too much and you'll be managed or removed. Brands reacted too. According to marketing analysts, Nicki's name suddenly became high risk in internal brand discussions. Not because of sales, she still moved numbers, but because controversy followed her everywhere. Meanwhile, 50 Cent's image was being repositioned as business first, forward-thinking, and safe for expansion. The contrast felt engineered, and the public noticed. Hashtags questioning Nicki's treatment trended briefly before disappearing. Comment sections filled with accusations of shadow banning and narrative control. Fans claimed posts defending Nicki were being buried, while posts praising 50 Cent were boosted. Whether coincidence or coordination, the timing raised eyebrows. What shocked people the most wasn't the betrayal itself, it was the industry's silence. No loud defenses. No public statements. Just distance. And in that silence, a new belief started spreading among fans and critics alike. This wasn't just about one deal or one fallout. It was about who gets protected when power shifts, and who gets sacrificed to keep the machine running smoothly. By the time the dust settled, one thing was clear. The public had chosen sides. The industry had chosen safety. And Nicki Minaj? She was standing alone in the middle, watching alliances crumble, narratives flip, and a system expose exactly how disposable loyalty really is. Just when people thought the situation couldn't get any more twisted, a final detail began circulating quietly, almost like a whisper the industry hoped would die before it got loud. It didn't. According to multiple anonymous sources, the deal everyone was focused on wasn't actually the real story. The money, the politics, the public positioning, those were distractions. The real fracture reportedly happened weeks earlier, behind closed doors, during a private meeting that never made the headlines. A meeting where Nicki Minaj allegedly refused to co-sign something that went against her principles, even after being warned about the consequences. That refusal changed everything. Sources claim the atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. What was once framed as collaboration reportedly became risk management. And in that moment, alliances quietly realigned. Phone calls were made. Strategies were rewritten. And someone who was once considered untouchable suddenly became a liability. That's where 50 Cent re-enters the picture. Insiders allege that he was given a choice: stand by Nicki and potentially lose access to future power plays, or distance himself and secure a long-term seat at the table. Publicly, nothing was said. Privately, silence did the talking. And in this industry, silence is rarely accidental. What made the twist even darker was what happened next. A leaked conversation, never fully confirmed but widely discussed, suggested that Nicki wasn't just being pushed out of one opportunity. She was being slowly isolated. Invitations stopped coming. Support went quiet. Even longtime industry allies reportedly became unavailable. Not hostile, just gone. To fans, it felt coordinated. And then came Nicki's response. Not a statement, not an interview, but a single, carefully worded post that many believe was aimed directly at those who turned their backs. No names, no accusations, just a message about loyalty, truth, and patience, and a warning that everything hidden eventually speaks. That post changed the energy. Suddenly, people weren't asking if Nicki was finished. They were asking what she knew, because veterans don't move in silence unless they're waiting. And Nicki Minaj has never been known to walk away quietly. Meanwhile, 50 Cent continued moving as if nothing happened. Deals progressing, cameras flashing, smiles intact. But observers noticed something off. His usual trolling edge was missing. No jokes, no shots, just distance. Almost like someone avoiding a future conversation they know is coming. By the end of the week, one final rumor began spreading, one that made even hardened industry watchers uneasy. That Nicki was sitting on receipts. Not emotional ones, business ones, messages, agreements, names, timelines. Enough to flip the narrative completely if she ever decided to speak. And that's where the story stops for now. Because if she stays silent, the industry wins. But if she talks, the fallout won't be controlled by blogs or labels. It'll be controlled by the truth. And the question everyone is now asking isn't who betrayed who, it's who's about to get exposed next. If you've been watching this closely, now it's your turn to speak. Do you think Nicki Minaj was set up from the start? Or did 50 Cent make a calculated move to protect his own future? Was this really about money and politics, or was it about power, control, and silence? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is far from over. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next update could flip everything you think you know. And trust me, when the next name drops, the industry won't be ready.